All right, everybody, welcome back to week 2. I'm Spencer, this is Jamie, and together we're rattling cages. Today we're going to run down CoTA. We're going to debate a little bit about how these next-gen cars are racing on the different track types, and get into a little bit of Phoenix. Let's get going. Jamie, what you got?
Yes, sir. I just want to mention, be sure you like and subscribe to the channel. We are new, but we will be doing some giveaways. We have this amazing sound gear package right here. If you don't know what they are the leading technology provider for most of every stock car or auto sports driver. Their ear molds are just incredible. Their hearing protection protects at the same time. It enhances your hearing. So it's incredible. This individual package here is approximately to a $400 to $500 value. Again, Sound Gear by Starkey. They're not a sponsor of our channel. We just happen to have an extra one on hand. So once we get to 100 subscribers, we'll be giving that away to one of those that one lucky person.
Let's go. Absolutely. Yeah, guys, we're going like crazy. We're excited about it. We're glad to have y'all along for the ride. So we're going to jump right into it. So we're going to start off by talking a little CoTA. I thought it was a wonderful race here at Circuit of the Americas. But let's just jump right in at the start. Really kind of picks up where we left off as far as Ross Chastain dressing down Carson Hocevar. So here we go. Ross Chastain dresses down Carson Hocevar in the infield of Atlanta. And then turn 1 of lap 1, he ships it into turn 1 and spins Elliott. And one of the things I didn't even realize, Hamlin was talking about this, he was starting way back near 20th, and he wrecked the third place car getting into that turn. So that just tells you how aggressive of a move it was.
Yeah. What blew me away the most is I was out of town and I went to a gas station and I was watching the race on my dash and it had buffered. And I was like, oh no, I'll run in, I'll pay for the gas, come out. And because if you remember, I picked Chase in our pool to win. And I come back to my truck and I know he starts third and they haven't even finished lap 1 and he's not even in the top 20. So I'm thinking, no, I knew that something dumb happened on Calamity Corner. And sure enough, Ross tried to make it 4-5 wide on the first turn. And yes, as counterintuitive as that is, I don't mind a veteran giving a new guy an earful after a race because he's got plenty to teach Carson Hocevar, especially since he's the one known for pushing people around the racetrack. But you can't do that. And then the very next race on the first turn of the first lap, just decide to screw people's day up. I mean, he certainly came back and battled back for fourth, but my God, did he have to overcome some adversity. I wish they got together later on.
In my mind now, that's what he was saying to Carson Hocevar was, hey man, that's my role. You can't come in here and take my role. He just came back and got it. But man, I was listening to Chase Elliott's audio, and you know how he is, just as quiet as could be, and he's just on the radio talking to his crew chief, Alan Gustafson, I can't say his name, I apologize, folks. Alan Gustafson, that's the one. And Chase is like, did I just really mess something up there? Like, did I do something really wrong? And Alan was like, no, it was just a lot of stupidity going on around you. I thought it was Chase telling Alan that he was going to wreck him. No, Alan was telling Chase, the next time he comes around, you're going to spin him. And sure enough, with 2 laps left to go, they finally caught him. That entire last 10 laps, I'm sitting there just watching it like he's going to catch him, baby. He's coming. He worked so hard through that race. Luckily, that car is tough as nails. And then just all of a sudden, he's by. The cameras never went to him. I don't know if you've seen this. I had to go in and look for it. Ross Chastain essentially left the track to let Chase Elliott go by. Whether it was, I messed up, I'm just going to let him by, like, I owe you one, or it was, somebody's got in my ear, I know what's coming. He just completely let him go by. It wasn't even, he left the track to let Chase go by. I wanted no part of it.
I'm pretty sure he knew what was coming. He's been the person that's been on the giving end of that before, and he knew exactly what was coming. So I think in their best interest, they saved a $250,000 race car and just gave up a couple spots. But I do think it's very cool to hear Alan Gustafson talk of that nature, because he's a rather mild-natured crew chief. So when a mild-natured crew chief says on a recorded audio that he is going to intentionally have his driver wreck somebody, I think we need more of that. I loved hearing it myself from a spectator standpoint.
I'm torn because Trackhouse is my favorite kind of up-and-coming new team, but I'm a Hendricks guy through and through, and especially a Chase Elliott guy. So the Trackhouse side of me was like, there's no reason to take more damage, especially when you've already got 2 other cars wadded up in the trailer. So there's no reason to take any more damage today. Give up a couple spots. He's going to get you anyways on fresher tires.
Yep.
But then the Chase Elliott side of me is like, man, if you're going to dish it, you better stand in there and take what's coming to you.
Race car drivers do not have a short memory span. So Phoenix is just around the corner, and I have no doubt that they will cross paths there.
It's coming. But that's one of the major points I want to talk about CoTA was kind of how Trackhouse ended up. So you've got this new, I don't want to say jumpstart team, but they are new to having 3 cars full time. Then all of a sudden they're bringing 4 cars to the track. I'd heard him talking with Zilic that they've got so many guys coming who are typically not on the road. They brought a lot of guys in from North Carolina just for this race. But then you end up with how to go. So Suarez spun. Then Zilic, honestly, I think he made the right move. He saw the smoke. He saw which way he thought the 99 was going. He just tried to center up the smoke where it was, thinking that he was going to be gone. And then all of a sudden plows into Suarez. They both are gone at this point. So you've got them off the track. Then SVG's down there. I don't know if it was, I really guess it was more strategy as far as being on old tires and stuff like that. He finishes 18th. And then you've got Ross Chastain, Ross the Boss, the Watermelon Man. After he punts Chase Elliott, he gives up all these spots and falls back mid-pack. So I just, what are your thoughts on that? Should they have left the kid at home and just focused on the 3 cars, or because those are 4 road course juggernauts? What you think?
Yeah, for sure. And I wanna first give a lot of credit to Daniel Suarez, because he was up there in the front for the majority of the race, and one tiny mistake took him out. He just hugged that hot dog curve a little too close, and it cost him everything. Other than that, he was the top 5 car for the majority of the race, which was cool to see, because that's usually not Daniel Suarez unless you're at a super speedway. As far as Connor Zilic, I called that from the start. I love to see the kid phenom. He's 18, first Cup start, could set some records, make some history. But there's a whole different animal jumping into the Cup Series. But the majority of these people will outdo most. He really didn't do anything special. Nothing that he did impressed me that day. Everybody had their own strategy with the tires, and he just didn't do anything great. I didn't expect him to win, but I expected him to have some fireworks somewhere, but it was pretty much a dud. I think it's worth them taking the risk. But yeah, at the same time, I think he was a big dud. He was a flash in the pan for that race. He was nothing like they hoped he would be. And all of the Trackhouse drivers, SVG was the name to win the race for the majority of it. But then he used up his stuff way too fast. And then he dropped like a rock, which we can touch on that with another driver that I want to talk about. But yeah, SVG was a guy that everybody thought was going to win the race. Throughout the race, you still thought that. In the middle part of the race, you still thought he was going to win. You know, he had some tough cars with Kyle Busch, and Christopher Bell made a charge, and Tyler Reddick stayed up there. But SVG was not somebody you were counting out at any given point. And then he just fell off the map in a quick lap or 2.
Well, definitely, we're going to get into those tires here in just a little bit. But real quickly, I guess we got 2 ways to go with NASCAR this week. First off, I like what they did with the track. I think that the track changes ended up being great. Last week, I talked about the track limits and how track limit penalties really kind of killed some people last year. And I feel like that was the race at CoTA last week. You'd watch somebody drive up, and then all of a sudden it's exceeding track limits and the SS pass-through penalty. So 2 parts to that. A, shortening the track I thought was great. And then if you did get a track limits violation, they had a kind of pull-off spot right there before the final turn, and you just had to stop there, take off again. So much less of a penalty there.
Yeah.
But they didn't enforce it all the way through. So in turn 6, they originally had it set up when they did the walkthrough for the drivers. They had this huge tire barrier, this little like corner of maybe 4 or 5 stacks of tires in the corner to keep people from cutting that corner, cutting turn 6. And a lot of the drivers got into NASCAR's ear and was just like, this ain't going to cut it. Like, A, if we hit this, it's going to end somebody's day. And B, we're going to push it out onto the track, in which case it's going to take a long time to get this back set up. It's just going to be a comedy of cautions, if you will. So they pulled it out, but they didn't enforce the track limits on that one, which, again, I'm fine with. But they left it for the drivers to figure out for themselves in the first stage. They never told anybody. You can hear crew chiefs coming over the radio saying, yeah, we just clarified with NASCAR they are not enforcing track limits through turn 6. Again, I'm fine with. Nobody was really gaining an advantage, because if you cut that corner, you were really kind of not doing yourself any favors going into the next corner. But just, I mean, Kyle Busch, several of them were over the radio like, what's going on? The guy in front of me is clearly cutting this corner. Are they enforcing this or are they not? And then, so just one at a time, they're finding out from NASCAR, oh, they're not enforcing it here. So again, we've got 3 races and 3 controversial officiating calls from NASCAR. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. First point would being the track. I thought taking out the big, long straightaway, I wasn't a fan of that. But I also mentioned that I don't watch road courses because they're not very satisfying for me as a super speedway fan. But I couldn't stop watching that race. I think the changes that they made that race so much more exciting and they give you so much more to watch. That was one of the best road course races I have ever seen. From the beginning to the end, it was nonstop action, and I loved every second of it. But I do specifically remember hearing AJ Allmendinger saying, his crew chief telling him, hey, they're not enforcing track limits there. And he said, oh, I didn't think they were doing that anyway. But on the flip side, I was hearing Kyle Busch's radio, and Kyle Busch was saying, they need to watch some of these people in front of me because they're cutting that corner awful close. And then eventually it came back and it was like, no, they're not enforcing the track limits. And then he's like, oh, well, then I'll just go over there too. But you think for $1 billion industry that they have their rules in order, but it just shows that yet again, NASCAR is just one step short of being in the good officiating corner of the sport, which who knows what we're going to see in Phoenix when it comes to NASCAR officiating.
Yeah, we can only guess what's coming with that. But yeah, I mean, that's my conjecture for what it's worth, is just that they weren't planning on having to officiate that corner, so they kind of got caught with their pants down. The only camera view they had was the TV view. So it's just like, we'll let it go. But maybe if we just don't say anything about it, nobody will notice. Like, what are we doing here? But as far as the race goes, you're right. From start to finish, it was a great race. Strategy played a big part. The tires wore. It was great to see. You can see people, how can we put it? Well, Chase Elliott, his drive from the back, he pit with like 11 laps to go. Drove back up through the field to finish 4th. You know me, I was really pumped to see that.
It's incredible.
On the other side of it, Kyle Busch is up there just hot dogging his way around, doing everything he can on these old worn out tires to keep Seabell and William Byron at bay. But, I mean, that's another thing that we got. We got a phenomenal finish.
Yeah.
And they played nice in the fact that they weren't just like, you do this, hey, you're fine, have the way. But I don't know if you saw Christopher Bell with 2 laps to go going into that first corner. He had all the speed. He was coming up on Busch, and it looked like he was getting ready to clip him. And just, if not, he was going to rattle his cage, that's for darn sure. Mm-hmm. But he let up and just kind of took the turn wide, gave up a second or two, but he knew he was going to catch him. And that was his quote. He said that he'd seen Kyle Busch come up through there. If he'd have come up through the field, pushing people around, bullying his way to the front, it might have been a different story. But watching him play clean to get up there, and knowing that he had enough car to go ahead and get by in the last couple laps, he was able to play fair, let the race play out, and for once, we don't have a green-white checker to end the race, or, heaven forbid, a caution to end the race.
Which they did. Mike Joy made sure to mention that, folks, we have put the caution light down at the bottom, just in case it lights up, you know who the winner is. And I was like, oh no, they're getting ready to do it again. But I think Christopher Bell was as professional as he could be, mainly because he got a face full of Kyle Busch after last year's race. And if you recall that interview, he looked so afraid when Kyle Busch confronted him. And I think that was the only thing that was on his mind was, please don't let me do this to this man again in the same turn that I did it last time. Knowing good and well he had the better car by far. He was on newer tires. And he also knew that Kyle Busch was slipping every time he went through turn 15. So he knew that he would have plenty more shots other than to do what most people would do when you get impatient, you run out of laps. You got to put the bumper to him. Clint Boyer couldn't. He was running out of breath using that slogan. He was like, man, he's got to put the bumper to him. He never had to, not even one time. They played nice.
Man, so on the topic of Boyer and them at Fox, man, with Mike Joy as well, I have just not been impressed with the Fox coverage so far. First and foremost, just cutting away with this all access or whatever it is, where they're just, during the Daytona 500 to end it, they go to something about Kyle Busch at the end when they're like getting ready to show some good racing going on. And it's just like, let's go see what they've been working on in the shop today. Then they did the same thing at CoTA. It's just like, I feel like we're getting away from seeing good racing, showing good racing. Then besides that, Mike Joy seemed to not have an idea of how the stages work and when the pit road closes. Because coming into the end of, I can't remember if it was the end of stage 1 or the end of stage 2, the leaders went to the final lap and he's like, oh, well, I don't know what they're doing because now they're not going to be able to pit until the stage is over. But until they cross the finish line, pit road's open. So then when they finally come down pit road, he's just sitting there like, so I have not been super impressed with Fox so far. Now the CW with Xfinity, I feel like that's been spot on. It's been good calls there. I've enjoyed watching those races. Watching Zillich work up from the back of the field a couple times yesterday or Saturday. Not making any friends, but working up from the field and then watching him and Quapple battle it out at the end. It was great, but haven't been real impressed with Fox so far. Hope to see that improve. All right, so after that phenomenal race that we just had at CoTA, I've got a debate that I really think that we could get into here. So I think it's clear right now that the 1.5 miles are the best tracks with this car. Atlanta, call it a super speedway, call it an intermediate. It's the best thing going at the moment. Kansas has great racing. I wish we could get another race at Kansas. The Charlotte Oval puts everything to shame as well. Like, you're really getting good, solid racing from this next-gen car on the 1.5 mile tracks. So besides that, we had a poll on this earlier. What is the best track that gives us the best racing with this car after the intermediate?
Yeah, I think it's early in the poll, but I'm pretty sure that 100% of the people have said what I thought. And how could you go against what we just saw? I mean, so far, the road course was the best race of the year, other than Atlanta. I know we don't have that many races to pin it up against, but coming from somebody who never watches a road course because they're not fun, I was absolutely glued to watching the road course. I'm more excited to watch Phoenix. I already know what's going to be good, but I'm really excited to see how the Glen goes.
That's going to be awesome. We got to wait quite a while for that. I thought this was going to be a big debate. I thought you were going to take a staunch super speedway
No,
stance on this one.
not at all, because I still stand on the fact that super speedways is, that's the poor man's big fish. The low budget teams, they have a shot at those. Cody Ware's probably licking his chops. He's like, yes, this is the one race, Dad, that I think I can get it done. But other than that, he's starting and parking, dude. He's 20, 30 laps down. But yeah, as far as the next gen car, you're not going to get anything better than a road course and intermediate tracks this year.
Man, we got to wait quite a while before we get another one. I think Mexico City.
And now I hate that.
This summer.
Now I want more road courses.
I'm telling you. How about that? I never thought I'd hear it from you. What we got left? We got Mexico City, Sonoma, Watkins Glen, and the Roval. Am I missing one? I feel like we have 6.
No,
I am missing one. I don't have a clue what I'm missing, though. Chicago Street Race is the other one.
Oh, the race in the water.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So of those, which one are you looking forward to the most now?
I just hope everybody comes back from the Mexico race. That's a wild card down there. All the haulers are get down there, but maybe they all don't get back. I'm excited to see the Glen. And I'm excited. The Chicago road course has been a dud the last 2 times in terms of race quality. I'm not a road course guy, but from the recaps, it's not. You can watch that race and get bored in the 14 minutes clip that they give you. But I think we're going to see a totally different thing this year with this car. We just saw a preview of that, and it's got to be.
And the tire.
Yeah, it's got to be similar. The tires are great. They added more laps to the CoTA race with the shortened track. And yeah, they all went on the 3-stop strategy, and yeah, the tires were solid. You had no tire problems. So yeah, kudos to Goodyear for that.
Yep. I can't wait to see what they do down in Mexico City. I think that'll be great.
Nobody knows.
Who am I? I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on this name. Who's the F1 driver that just left Red Bull that's from Mexico?
I don't do F1.
I should know this. I'll look this up eventually.
That's an Abraham.
Look, that's one of the things that, they're saying, oh, well, the only way this waiver is ever going to come into play is going to be at the super speedways. And I think that would be cool if we start doing some of these overseas or in different countries road courses, that you see some of these guys who are native to the countries we're going to hopping in like, yeah, I'll give this a go. And man, can you imagine if Daniel Suarez wins in Mexico City?
Pandemonium south of the border, my friend.
That place will go crazy.
Gonna be piñatas and tequila everywhere.
Everywhere. God, that'd be a great time.
One other thing I want to touch on, which I don't see any other podcast talk about. I thought the Door Bumper Clear folks would at least talk about it, is the right rear hook from Austin Cindric. It's as clear as day. He turns to the left. He had plenty of room not to do so. But if you go back to Richmond, where Austin Dillon decided to just wreck everybody and take the checkered flag and make old granddaddy happy, his win was taken away. He had severe penalties for that. But because Austin Cindric wasn't racing for the win, I guess that's okay.
And see, that's what we've been told, is that if you right hook somebody, it's a suspension.
Yeah.
We saw it with Chase Elliott turning Denny Hamlin. We've seen it a bunch of times lately. So what do you think's coming? What do you think the penalty is going to be? I can't see NASCAR suspending him.
They're not even talking about it.
Well, I don't know that they would yet. I think that's something that we would see Wednesday or Thursday come down.
I think because it was mid-pack or wherever the hell they were, it wasn't for the win, and because it was Ty Dillon, it's not a headline. Therefore, it's not a story. Therefore, it's not going to be talked about.
Yeah.
Again, that's a NASCAR thing. They're over here, then they're over there, and they pick and choose what they want to do, and I think it's BS. Nobody's going to call them out on it, but, I'll rattle their cage if I got to.
Yeah, Denny didn't want to talk about it a lot because he feels like he has sway with NASCAR now, which I guess he does. But he refused to comment too much. I mean, I think the most we got out of him was that, is the precedence that if you right hook somebody, you get suspended? Okay, there's my answer, was essentially what he said.
Yeah.
But it's a stiff penalty to pay. Because, have you seen what the rule is? If he gets suspended for a race, Basically, I think he would have to, and again, even Denny was saying he's not for sure on this rule, but none of his playoff points would count into the playoffs. Like if he were to somehow make the playoffs, which I'm not sure if he'd have to win to get in at that point, which I'm assuming that's what it would be.
Yeah, almost certainly. Yeah.
He would go in as the 16th place driver with 0 playoff points, which at that point, why are we even letting him in the playoffs?
You make that choice. You right rear hook, you're going to pretty much dig your own grave, man.
That's it. All right, well, let's piggyback off of this tire talk, which again we thought was great, and talk about Phoenix a little bit. So they're taking the same softer compound tire to Phoenix that they raced in CoTA. In CoTA, we saw some great fall off. We saw people in the front really have to fight hard, i.e. Kyle Busch trying to fight off Seabell and William Byron at the end. And then we saw Chase Elliott in a matter of 10 laps fight his way from the back to the front on fresh tires. So I'm really liking what they're doing with the tire compound. That said, Phoenix has been a real snooze fest lately. There hadn't been any passing. It's just been the pesky Penske's up front all day long. I suppose Seabell won in the spring last year, but in the fall, it was nothing but Penske's. And it's just, I mean, like, even in the championship race, I was bored. So, what do you think? Are you buying or selling that these tires are going to save the day and we're going to have good racing in Phoenix?
I think you're going to still have, I still think you're going to have 15 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah.
I mean, Phoenix is just a spread out track. But hopefully this new car combined with the new tire at least enables the drivers to not come over their radio and simply say, just can't pass anybody.
Yeah. That's awful to hear. And I mean, like, I think Phoenix is an awesome setup. I think the way the stands are set up kind of in the corner is awesome. I think the unique track shape is cool. I think the scenery is awesome. I would love to be able to go camp out there and spend a race weekend there if the racing was any better. But like, the 2 races last year were not enjoyable to watch in any way, shape, or form. So what do you think? Who's your pick this week in Phoenix?
I'm going to get told I'm crazy for saying this because it's a Toyota, but I said it on the podcast last time. I was riding Christopher Bell's momentum from Atlanta, the caution momentum, and he rode that momentum to a back-to-back. And he's shown that he can do it there before. It just depends on whether he can get through the Penske cars to do it again. I think he'll get a top 5, no problem. But I would not be surprised if he went for a 3-peat. Or 3 in a row, rather.
I agree. I guess just for a little parody, and I'll go with the Penske car. I refuse to go with Logano. But I'll take Blaney. Blaney's looking for a little redemption. I won't even say he got outraced last year at Phoenix. But I'll go with Blaney. But on the Seabell topic, Christopher Bell has looked absolutely wonderful so far this year. Great young driver. I say young driver. He is, but he's 30. I thought he was younger than that.
Yeah,
but regardless, he's sitting high right now. Got 2 wins under your belt. He's just got to be sitting there like, my gosh, I can stack these wins up this year. How many can I end up with? So on that note, between him and William Byron, if you had to start your race team today and build around one of these younger guys, who are you going to build it around? Chris Bell or William Byron? Are you taking somebody different?
Oh, young guys. I mean, it's hard to not go the guy with the guy who's won the most races, right? As of late. And that would be Christopher Bell. I would say it's 49% to 51%. I'm not a huge Christopher Bell fan, but I can't ignore what he's done so far.
I hear you on that. I think I'd have to go William Byron. He's leading the points right now. He had a hot start last year. He's in phenomenal equipment. He's taken over the 24 car, kind of looking like Gordon out there doing the thing, especially in that paint scheme that he won Daytona with. So, if I was going to build one, I think I'd have to build around William Byron. And my son, Bo, he would definitely have to agree with that. That's his favorite driver.
Yeah, it's hard not to pick those big burning flames.
All right, well, final thoughts from me. Fox has been really promoting the nonsense out of IndyCar, and I've decided that I'm not just going to be a NASCAR fan, that I want to be a race fan in general. I used to talk nonsense about F1 all the time. About midway through the year last year, I really started getting into it. Started pulling for McLaren, got behind those guys. Enjoyed the racing once I finally got into it. I kind of had to decide that it's not about the racing, it's about the amazing, phenomenal equipment that they have and how they can take these turns at such high speed and have so much downforce, just how awesome that is to see. But really got into that. Then over the winter time, seeing the Chili Bowl and some of these, the Tulsa Shootout with the sprint cars, that is phenomenal racing. You take way too much horsepower, take the wing off, got no downforce, and it's just, yes, that's what racing needs to be. So when Fox started promoting IndyCar, I'm like, let's give it a go. And I watched the St. Petersburg Grand Prix was this weekend. It was on right before the NASCAR race, and I mean, it was just a letdown. Maybe it's because I don't know any of the drivers yet. Not really into the strategy, the storylines that are going on, but I just wasn't really impressed with it. So I'll give it a shot next week as well, or whenever they're racing again, I suppose. But so far, I'm selling on IndyCar. Final thoughts on anything? Got anything to get off your chest?
No, I'm not an IndyCar guy. I'm more about the loud muscle of our stock cars. But let's close out with our picks for Phoenix. Let's pick 2 drivers and see. Let's go head to head here. Who's your 2 picks for Phoenix?
I will take Ryan Blaney, and let's see.
You just said who you build your team around.
Yeah, but man, Hendricks. So that's the thing. Hendricks Phoenix has just been invisible. Where are they at? I think Larson had a top 5 finish there last year somewhere. But maybe that's where I'll go. I'll go Kyle Larson. I think he's the best driver in the world right now, so he's got to get back on track at some point. So I'll take Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson.
Okay. I'm going to stick with my initial pick. I'm going to go Christopher Bell and Joey Logano.
I think that's solid. That's solid right there. All right, everybody. Well, that's all that we've got time for today. Like and subscribe. Show them that sound gear again. First 100 subscribers, we're looking to give away some great sound gear equipment. But other than that, I'm Spencer. That's Jamie. We hope we've rattled some cages this week. If not, we'll do better next time. Y'all have a good one.
See ya.